With the recent AI art trend of the Studio Ghibli art trend, you would have seen that everywhere. I had a couple of thoughts about it a few days ago. I decided to write those thoughts down, but this trend just keeps on going, and I just thought it's worthwhile sharing what I wrote. With AI art trends and people's indifference towards craftsmanship, it exposes a deeper cultural shift. We've become so conditioned to fast consumption that most people aren't even looking at art anymore. They're just glancing through it. The result is the blurring of taste, where anything that vaguely resembles beauty gets mistaken for the real thing. Miyazaki's work is the complete opposite of that. His films demand presence, they're slow, they're deliberate, and filled with quiet moments. Scenes where nothing happens, except for wind moving through grass or light shifting across a room. That's the kind of beauty you can't rush. And it's also what AI can't mimic because it's born from intuition, not calculation. AI can't feel the tension of holding a brush or the sense of the composition when it feels just right. Those are deeply human instincts. I think what's shocking isn't that AI art exists, but that so many people accept it without noticing what's missing. It's like confusing a microwave dinner for a home-cooked meal. I mean, sure, they're both food, they both fill you up, but one of them leaves you feeling quite empty. You see, AI artists, or cogs in a machine if you will, simply think that art is the end result, as if all it is just the image produced. This is the very crucial part that I think is massively overlooked in all this, and I cannot stress that enough. Let me read that again. You see, AI artists, or cogs in a machine, if you will, simply think that art is the end result. I go on to write, art isn't about reaching an end result, as if the whole process exists just to land at some final point. If music were like that, it would just be nothing more than one big brum, a simple clash of sound over an instant. But music unfolds, it breathes, it exists for its own sake. So does art. The process of painting isn't a journey, nor a story, nor a conversation with a lesson to conclude. It isn't about achieving something beyond itself. It simply is. Life itself has nothing to do, give, or say, or teach. It just is. Alan Watts puts it, the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet everybody rushes around in great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. To paint from this space, where there's no point to define, justify, or explain, is to create something that exists as purely as a tree swaying in the wind, or a wave curling, breaking, and crashing on the shore. The painting becomes not a statement, but a presence, an undeniable whole, and free from the need to prove itself. In this way, the act of painting is no different from life itself, simple, complete, and always enough. Talk about life. Look who's here to visit us. Say hello. Say hello. That's Iris. It's my cat. I think that's what a lot of people are missing in this AI art is they think that they're artists, they think that they're creating something, but it's genuinely like somebody that has a microwave dinner and they're putting it in the microwave, pulling it out and calling themselves a chef. And a Michelin star chef is looking at that like, you're not a fucking chef. You just put that in the microwave, heated it up, pulled it out. That's all you fucking did. You didn't even put the ingredients together. I think that's a really good analogy. I had that analogy the other night, last night actually. Hopefully that lands with some people here. I think what a lot of people are missing in all of this is really exactly that. They think art is purely just the end result. I think just today, that famous streamer XQC, he had this quote today. I thought it was rather funny. Everybody else blew up at him, but I really thought it was quite funny. He said that a lot of AI art is better than most people's artwork, and he said that he He doesn't care about the process. He doesn't consume the process. He only consumes the end result. And that's where I started laughing, because he's right. He's right. Most people don't consume the process. They only consume the end result. They treat art like a commodity because a lot of artists over the years have treated themselves as a commodity. We've transformed our paintings, our artworks, into commodities for big corporations, for mass production, for all these various sorts of ways, consumeristic sorts of ways in which a mass production of art is just that. It's just for the mass production. And so in that very way, a lot of artists have transformed themselves into that commodity over the years. And like any commodity, you're going to get treated like a commodity, right? So when something faster, better, easier, cheaper comes along, then guess what? Your stuff, which is slower, takes longer, more expensive, is going to be put to the side. And that's just the nature of the game you chose to play. But I don't think it's all, fear and doubt and worry. I really just believe that this AI stuff is what you make it. Like anything. Like a camera, like a hammer, like a tool. These things simply just exist. And it's how you use them that I think really matters. I think where we really are drawing a line in the sand is when people are using this microwave dinner to call themselves chefs. You're putting it in the microwave, heating it up and pulling it out and saying, I'm a Michelin star chef. You're not. You just put the microwave dinner in the oven, which is even more of a great point because they didn't even bring the ingredients to the table. AI already got those ingredients from elsewhere and put the ingredients there. You just put it in the microwave and pull it out. That was it. So I think that analogy works great. And that's why I felt compelled this morning to sort of paint Miyazaki here in just a 2-hour session, all wet to wet, alla prima. And I kind of just left it at that. And I felt like he would really appreciate something like that. Something that's just, done in the moment, by my own hands, by my own intuition, which is very alla prima style, all at once, 2-hour session. Very raw, very painterly, and I quite like it. It feels deep, it feels meaningful, and I love the Ghibli films. And I really love the Ghibli films, and I've always loved it. And I think that's where us as artists are having this big awakening. I think a lot of people are having this awakening. They're realizing that, oh, hang on, most people, everyday people, can't tell the difference between just regular shitty glossy art and like something to the caliber of Ghibli. They can't tell the difference between their AI generated photo remix of a Ghibli filter and the real deal. They just can't. They can't see it for whatever reason. That's a whole nother conversation in of itself. I'm just using this to illustrate the point here, which is that a lot of artists are having that awakening. We can look at a Ghibli and see, wow, that's beautiful. There's a lot of love, sweat and tears poured into this. It's so fantastic, it's so timeless, it's so breathtaking in a lot of ways. And that's not even talking about the stories in it, right? I'm not even talking about the narratives in it, right? But we can only see that because we understand the process. It's like when you bring somebody that knows nothing about art in front of a John Singer Sargent painting, right? He's a good artist. I quite like a number of his works. He's not my favorite artist, but you put him in front of a John Singer Sargent work, we as artists know the caliber of which he paints at, because we know that he is painting 10 or 20 brushstrokes with one brushstroke, and that's masterful because we understand that. But the average everyday person will look at a Sargent painting and think, that's a bit crude. I'm looking at that photorealistic painting over there. I think they're a much better painter than Sargent. But what they don't understand is that the photorealism is actually just a series of processes, right, that you just gotta layer in. There's no intuition, there's no nothing. You just It's a step by step really, and just render it up. No offense to anybody that paints photorealistic, much love, all love to you guys, right? But I'm just using this as an example. I think a lot of people are realizing now that people can't tell the difference because they don't consume art the same way that we consume art as artists. And that's fine. They don't have to consume it the same way. Where I think it tends to get scary is that in the commodity sense, if they can't tell the difference, then they can't tell the difference, right? So that's the scary part. Here's the good news. Here's the good stuff. This is my good revelation. So many of you know that I paint weddings. I paint live weddings, and I love it. It's so much fun, so much energy. It's so exciting. And that's where I think art is heading. I think that the process of art is going to become much like live music. We all listen to music on our phones or on YouTube, on the radio, on wherever. But anybody that's been to live music knows full well that it is not the same as listening to it on your phone at all. And that's why I think painting live in front of people, when I painted weddings and I paint in front of people, I'm taking on the energy of everybody in the room. It's beautiful movement. Everything's flowing. It's so beautiful. All the guests will constantly come up to me and tell me how thankful they are to witness this, how overjoyed they are to witness this. They're constantly telling the bride and groom how genius they are for doing this at their wedding. They think it's incredible. And I think when people are exposed to that, they start to realize, wow, I didn't know people can do this. And that's why I think Miyazaki's quote where he says, when he's asked about AI, he says, obviously we know the one, he says it's a disgrace to life itself, but he also says, which I think is an even more profound quote, which isn't quoted enough, he says, humans have lost faith in themselves. I think that's why a lot of people turn to AI art. I've watched many artists over just the past year who were phenomenal artists, really great artists. I love their works. But they don't post their works anymore. They post AI generated stuff that they make. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can still see some of your tastes a little bit, but this just isn't you anymore. This isn't your expression. This isn't your soul. This isn't your stuff. This is just, and it's deeply sad. But I think Miyazaki hit it on the head when he said that we've lost faith in ourselves. We really have. So to give you some faith back, I believe that people genuinely love real art and they deeply appreciate it, particularly when it's in front of them in real life. Now, I know a lot of digital painters will find this hard, but it's the truth. If you can paint live in front of somebody, maybe you can bring your tablet and you can do it live in front of them too and make a show about it. I don't know, run with this idea, you'll work something out. But when somebody sees it in front of themselves and they see it painting in front of themselves and they can smell it, they can touch it, they can talk to the artist, it's a deep, visceral, beautiful, raw, reality, rich, authentic experience for them. And they love it. So that's where I see art becoming, is that the painting side of the process of the art is going to take an even bigger precedence than just the final result of the painting itself. And I think if you can put on a show where you can show not only your own artworks on the wall, which is what I'm going to be doing at the end of this year, so stay tuned for that, where I'm going to show my own artworks on the wall, but I'm also going to paint live in front of people and show people the process and make it fun, make it enjoyable, have my friends play music for us and stuff, and get people to interact and have fun. I think we all deeply crave a live experience, a place to go to in the physical world, more than anything. And so if you as an artist can provide that for somebody, play with this idea, have a think about it. You know yourself, you know your world, you know what's going on. Have an idea, see where you can take that idea and run with it. I know where I'm taking it, which is, what I just explained. But that's where I see art coming in the near future, or right now rather, with AI art and all that sort of stuff, is that we need to cut back from the commodity, cut back from the consumeristic side of things, the endless scroll, image, meaningless. And we need to take it back, remove it from socials, and all these different aspects like that, and bring it back into reality. Create live events where people can come to and touch it and be physical and tangible with it. That's where I think the beauty of art still lingers, still is strong, and will still prevail to this day. That's all I got to say. That's all I want to say. All right, get out of here. Love yous. Go live your life. Whatever.